Hello, it is Sunday, March 14th, 2021. I'm your host, JJ Peters, and my co host is Michael Menser. Well, 1 year ago, a few days ago, the sporting world was shut down. Crazy, right? We didn't have sports for 2 whole months. And, well, thankfully, it looks like we're getting closer to having fans at full capacities in stadiums and arenas. Another crazy note, this podcast is now 1 years old. Thank you again for all who listen and watch the show, or watch the podcast, excuse me. That's a tremendous help, and me and Michael hope to continue doing the podcast as long as we can. Today on the show, we've got Ron Jones coming on from the Are They Hooping app, which is basically a pickup basketball app that you can connect with other people. I'll put a link down in the description below of his app, his social media sites, and his website. Also, I will be talking a little bit about the NBA. Also, Michael Menser comes on the show, like always, and discusses NFL free agency, Dak gets paid, college hoops, and much more. We hope you enjoy today's episode of the STP Pod. Before we start today's exciting episode of the Sports Town podcast, I'd like to tell you about Selection Sunday, which is, of course, today at the time of this recording. We will be doing a bracket challenge hosted by ESPN. It'll be called the STP Pod Group. If you guys want to join, don't forget to go look up the STP Pod Group on ESPN or hit the link in the description down below. The winner will receive something. Not sure what they'll receive, but I'm thinking about something probably like an Amazon gift card or something, probably anywhere between $50 and $100. But again, don't forget to check that out. And again, you can only have one bracket, so unfortunately, you can't have multiple brackets. Another thing we're doing after or starting next week, we're going to be doing something called a new segment called Ask Questions from Instagram, which I'll be putting up in a story on the Ask Me Anything icon, and me and Michael will answer the three questions that you guys ask. So if there's more than three questions, we'll just try to figure out what the best option is, and we'll go from there. And we'll also give a shout out to you guys if you ask that question and we select it. All right, don't forget to follow the podcast on Instagram and Facebook at sportstown_podcast or on Twitter at sportstownpod. And now time for our weekly poll question. And the question was, is Gonzaga unbeatable? Now you can vote at Instagram and Facebook at sportstown_podcast or on Twitter at sportstownpod. And the question was, is Gonzaga unbeatable? Now 60% of the vote said no, which is kind of, I think it is true because Gonzaga looked really good, but then they almost lost to BYU. So we'll see what happens. But again, thanks for voting. You can vote at Instagram and Facebook at sportstown_podcast or on Twitter at sportstownpod. And now, time for the Sports Lightning Round. The Sports Lightning Round, the biggest stories in the sporting world this week. Let's begin. Brad Keselowski wins the pole at Phoenix. Keselowski of the number 2 discount Ford tire finished second last week and is hoping to build off this momentum this week. He placed second behind Kyle Larson. Number 2 has had 2 top 5s this season, has a total of 149 points in the young season. The rest of the top 5 for this week's race at Phoenix is Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, and Martin Truex Jr. The Rangers will have full capacity for their opening day game against the Toronto Blue Jays on April 5th. Global Life Park in Arlington was finished last year and hosted the 2020 World Series between the Dodgers and Rays. However, they only had 25 to 50% capacity for the Fall Classic. After opening day weekend, the Rangers will reduce the capacity of fans for most of April and May. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has permitted the Rangers organization at full capacity for the 2021 opening day week. Miles Leonard has been suspended and fined $50,000 and has also been suspended from Twitch after saying an anti-Semitic slur during a live stream on Twitch. Leonard has been banned on multiple gaming sites. After his ban, Leonard stated on Instagram saying, "I promise to do better and know my future actions will be more powerful than my use of this word." Leonard is now the third known athlete in the last year to say a slur during a live stream on Twitch. He now joins Haley Deegan and Kyle Larson. The Heat are currently 19 and 18 and have the fifth seed in the Eastern Conference. At the end of round 3 at the Players' Championship, Lee Westwood leads. Westwood scored with a 13 under par. He finished second last week with a score of 10 under par at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. The 47-year-old lost to Bryson DeChambeau. Westwood is currently ranked 31st in the world. During his career, he has won 2 wins on the PGA Tour and has 25 on the European Tour. That ranks him 8th all-time in the European Tour wins. The rest of the top 5 are Bryson DeChambeau, Doug Ghim, Justin Thomas, Paul Casey, Brian Harmon, and John Rahm, who is currently ranked 2nd in the world. First reported by Tim McMahon of ESPN, the Spurs and LaMarcus Aldridge have agreed to part ways. Currently, San Antonio is looking to trade the 7-time All-Star. Aldridge signed 2 years with this, Aldridge signed with the Spurs in 2015 and is currently on a 2-year, $50 million contract. Aldridge will be a free agent this offseason. Spurs head coach Greg Popovich stated, "He's been a great teammate. No problem there. We think it's a win-win for both LaMarcus and the club. When an opportunity arises, that'll be up to management, his agent, and that sort of thing, and we'll move forward. The Spurs are working on a trade and not a buyout. If the trade deadline does pass and Aldridge is not traded, the Spurs will most likely buy out the former number 2 overall pick." At the time of this recording, the Spurs were 18 and 50 and 7th in the Western Conference playoff picture. The NHL is returning to ESPN. The deal is worth 10 years for about $400 million. Disney and ESPN will have the rights to the NHL, while the other half will be sold to another company, most likely NBC. The NHL will include games on ESPN, ABC, Hulu, and ESPN+. The NHL game will be broadcasted by ESPN half the season, and the rest, the other half, will be broadcasted by another company, which we previously mentioned. Most likely it will be NBC. The NHL has been on ESPN, or has not been on ESPN since 2004/2005 season. NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman stated, "This is a great day for the NHL and hockey. The deal will begin next season." Virginia is officially out of the ACC tournament after having a positive test within the basketball program. The Cavaliers were scheduled to play the 4th-seeded Georgia Tech on Friday, and the winner of that game would have gone on to play either Florida State or North Carolina. The 2019 NCAA champs are in danger of not being able to play in the NCAA tournament this year because of COVID protocols. The last time Virginia had a COVID case in the program, they had to be quarantined for 10 days. The NCAA tournament starts next week. Georgia Tech will now advance to the ACC championship game. Nick Markakis of the Atlanta Braves is retired after 15 seasons. Markakis was originally drafted by the Orioles with the 7th overall pick in 2003. He played with Baltimore from 2006 to 2014. He then signed with the Braves. He played up all the way until 2020. He made his only All-Star appearance in 2018. That same year, he also took away the Silver Slugger Award. Markakis' career stats were 2,388 hits, 189 homers, 1,046 RBIs, and a .288 batting average. Markakis planned to retire after the 2020 season and first told his family before releasing it to the public. Kansas is also out of their conference tournament with someone testing positive for coronavirus. Kansas now joins Virginia and Duke as teams that had to withdraw because at least one player tested positive for COVID-19. With Kansas out of the Big 12 championship, Texas, who were scheduled to play, will now advance to the championship game. Kansas head coach Bill Self stated, "Obviously, we're disappointed, and our players are also disappointed that they cannot continue to compete for the Big 12 championship. We have followed daily testing and additional protocols that have been set up for us. Unfortunately, we caught a bad break at the wrong time. I look forward to preparing my team in a probably unique way for the NCAA tournament. The Jayhawks will stay in Kansas City, the site of the Big 12 tournament, and will continue to test and isolate there until the tournament begins next Friday." All righty. Welcome back to the Sports Town Podcast, season number 2, episode 38. I am pleased to be joined by Ron Jones, the creator of Are They Hooping app, which is the number 1 app, our one pickup basketball app. You can download the app on the App Store on iPhone or Google Play for Android. How's it going, Ron?
Good. Thank you for the invite, and I'm excited to be here.
Yep. It's been definitely going to be fun. And I'm intrigued to know more about the app. How long has it been going, or how long has it been running, and where'd you get the idea from?
Yeah, so it really launched at the beginning of 2018. And I got the idea because I played college basketball and I've been playing basketball my entire life. And one of the biggest problems I have is when I want to play pickup or I'm not sure if one, anybody's at the gym, or two, the people at the gym are trying to play full. So a lot of times before I go, there was no way of telling. So I just decided to create an app that might help with that.
All right, that's really cool. Where did you play college basketball at?
I played at Berry College in North Georgia.
Okay. Did you play like all 4 years, or just a few years, or?
Yeah, so I only played my freshman year, and then I ended up transferring to Kennesaw State University. And once I transferred to Kennesaw State, I started my company. So that kind of took most of my time. I decided to focus on my new major, which was computer science, and my new company, which is called Collective Minds Incorporated. It's still running to this day. So those two things kind of took my time away from basketball.
All right, that's really cool. It's really cool when people can, like, kind of start their own business and just kind of, not have like a big corporation. Like this app right here is really cool. And, I was checking it the other day and I thought, this is a really good idea. What is the main goal for your app?
So the core purpose is to let people know where you're playing near you, but it's really a social networking app. So ideally, in the future, we want it to be the premier social networking app for basketball players. So if you want to know basketball news, you go to Are They Hooping, or if you just want to talk about the game, if you want to play pickup, if you want to know who's the top players right now. So we really want it to be a lot more expansive and just like an app for the basketball realm.
All right, that's yeah, that's really cool. Like, I think that's a great great idea. Not a lot of people have that, and especially like I kind of have that problem too, where when you want to go to when you go want to go play basketball, you kind of look and some people are playing doing this and some people are doing that. You can't really like find that person who actually wants to play pickup basketball, or yeah. So um right now in the you said you're a big NBA guy. Who do you like right now for MVP after the All-Star break was over?
So, even though he hasn't been playing his best ball since after the All Star break, I still think Steph is probably in lead for MVP. Just because without Steph, I really don't think the Warriors are doing anything. They've been having a pretty decent season, and I think he's fourth in the league for scoring with no help getting doubles pretty much consistently. So, I'll put him in the MVP front runner right now.
Well, I think I was checking the stats, or I was hearing someone was talking. I think it was a big basketball analyst, and he said, Steph Curry is actually having a better season than his two previous, or he's having a better season than when he won the MVP back in 2015 and 2016. But because his team isn't the same, he probably won't end up getting it. But yeah, that's Steph Curry has been having a great season, and his stats are almost like outstanding. And of course, he wins the 3-point contest, so he's been having a great season. Right now, it seems like Brooklyn right now is unstoppable. Do you think Brooklyn's the best team in the league right now?
I do, especially after their latest pickup with Blake Griffin. If he's even a shadow of himself in the past, that I don't really see them having much competition, except maybe once they get to the West. But I think I'd see them taking the East very easily, and I really don't see much competition in the West. Maybe Lakers late in. You can never count LeBron out, but yeah, Nets are definitely looking good this year.
So the Jazz in the Western Conference are actually they have the best record right now, I believe. Um, are you convinced the Jazz are an elite team right now?
To be honest with you, not really. So I do respect the record. You got to respect the wins, but at the same time, regular season's regular season. I don't know if they're gonna continue that same momentum throughout the playoffs. It might be a little disappointing of a story if I had to guess, but they're definitely doing some big things during the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the Jazz are actually for real, but Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert have been having a great season, and it's kind of ironic that Utah, both players that were selected to the All Star game, were both selected last. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And I don't know, this doesn't seem like the Jazz are getting that respect, and maybe it's because of past. because again, we don't really believe in the Jazz. Do you think, or do you agree with that? That the Jazz aren't getting respect just because they're past. They haven't really been able to take that next step.
Yeah, their past definitely has a lot to do with it. Like LeBron said, that funny joke that he made when he was picking the teams, he's like nobody picks the Jazz. It's just that's just kind of what it is. The Jazz has historically just been kind of a background team, but I think they actually have the talent, some of the talent to kind of at least change the narrative behind them. But I don't know if it's enough to get them deep in the playoffs.
What do you think they need to do? Do you think they need to do anything before the trade deadline comes?
If Jazz could do anything, who who's the in the backcourt with Donovan Mitchell right now starting?
I think it's Mike Conley as the point guard.
Yeah, so maybe just like another solid small forward or power forward because they got the backcourt, they got Rudy Gobert at center. So either strengthening the bench is something that they might need to do, or just getting another prolific scorer at the 3 or 4 position.
Right now it looks like I don't know. The West seems kind of a mess right now, but the East it's all about Brooklyn. I actually have a friend who's a big Bucks fan, and it seems like they haven't been able to hit their stride yet. Do you think the reason why the Bucks have not been able to take that next step this year is because of the injury to Drew Holiday?
Definitely, because really the only thing they were missing was that solid point guard, that solid point guard position. I know they had Bledsoe in the past, but to me, he's more of a shooting guard. They never really had the quote unquote just point guard to run the team and lead the team. So Drew Holiday taking that big shot was pretty big because I know he's had some good success in the point guard position. Um, yeah, me myself, I'm a Celtics fan too, so uh, but yeah.
Speaking of the Celtics, they similar to the Bucks haven't been able to really hit their stride. And there's been rumors recently that Danny Ainge is going to make a big move for like a big time player like a Bradley Beal or just some type of player. Do you think the Celtics should do that in the trade deadline, or do you think they should do something else to help the team, win more games this season?
So that's tough. As a Celtics fan, I love the current team that they have. Just it's just filled with dogs, and they got a lot of heart. But at the same time, it's been a similar team for years now. So it's probably about that time where you have to do something big to shake it up. Just kind of just because they keep getting to the same point, they're almost like hitting a threshold of the Eastern Conference Finals almost consistently, but not able to just push that hump. And it might be a veteran that they need, or I honestly I thought it would be Kemba Walker when it happened, but that ended up not being as good of a situation as it could have been. But yeah, I think that they have the tools that they need. But either way, if they did a big switch up, I wouldn't be mad at it. Or if they kept their same team and then just tried to build around a little more consistently, I wouldn't be mad either. They're kind of in a win-win situation to me.
Yeah, it was kind of. I thought the same thing when they brought in Kimball Walker. I thought that would take him to the next level, and it hasn't come to fruition. But I think the injuries to Kimball Walker hasn't really helped, and I still think Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown have a lot to learn. I mean, even though they're really good, like they're really young, really good, but I think they have still need some time, to learn, how to play more. And I think, like I said, I think Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown are great players, but I still think they're very young and they still have got time left to grow. So, yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I think Boston has, it's a win-win situation for them. Um, let's stay in the Eastern Conference. Joel Embiid has been having a very impressive season. Do you think Doc Rivers has been able, or do you think Doc Rivers is the reason why Joel Embiid has been having a great season so far?
Doc Rivers is a great coach. Like I said, I'm a Celtics fan, and I actually fell in love with the Celtics while Doc Rivers was the head coach. Back when Ray Allen and Ray John Rondo were on the team, but I think it'll be hard to attribute Joel Embiid's success to Doc Rivers just because he's such a outstanding player. I think he probably would have found that success in any decent system. So we can give Doc Rivers the props for creating a system where he can be fluid in. But I don't think that would be hard.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the Sixers have still been able to, come like the Sixers. They were a decent team with Brent Brown, but I feel like when Doc Rivers came, this team has been a completely different team. It's transformed into, a top tier team. I don't think they're better than the Nets by any chance, but I think there's a shot that the Sixers could be maybe they could be maybe the second best team behind Brooklyn. But we'll see what happens. There's still a lot left to go in the season. Um, right now, it seems like LaMelo Ball is going to be the rookie of the year, and there's really no competition. Do you see any other rookies really making it a run at the rookie of the year this season?
No, the things he's been doing is I think he's shooting. He's hit 99 threes this season already. More than I forgot the names on the list, but there was a lot of names on that list that he was shooting better than, and that's not even really the key part to his game. I know he's more of a passer. His assist numbers are looking great, so he's really came to the league ready. It's probably because he started overseas. He's not coming straight out of college, so he's kind of been playing that organized, structured professional basketball. So and it shows because he really came into the NBA with the hitting the ground running. So I don't see anybody taking that from him.
It seems like recently we've been hearing a lot of rumors that Lonzo Ball, his brother, could be joining him in Charlotte. However, I think Lonzo's had such a great season that the Pelicans probably won't do the trade. But do you see a scenario where Lonzo, or even this summer, do you think Lonzo ends up being with the Hornets with his brother in Charlotte?
I haven't really heard enough about it to say if I think it will happen. But as far as if it did happen, I think it would be a lot more successful than people might take granted for it. Just being a basketball player, playing with somebody that you have chemistry with is just a different game, and I can't imagine the chemistry that they have being brothers, growing up together, playing their whole lives. So, and both of them are elite players. They can shoot, they can pass the ball, they can kind of control the flow of the game. So having that chemistry together in the backcourt would be pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of crazy how we all thought Lonzo would be the top or would be the best player in his family, but it feels like LaMelo has just came into his own. And maybe I mean, as you were mentioning, playing overseas, I didn't realize how much that could help you. And I think LaMelo he's outstanding, and I think he's going to be a really good player in the next 10, 15 years. He's going to be probably in the top. Um, Speaking of the Pelicans, do you think they have a chance to make the playoffs this season?
I think so. Um, do you know their currently where they sit?
I think they're somewhere in the 10 or 11 seed because I think the last three teams that are in are the Spurs, the Blazers, and then I think the Mavericks are the final three seeds. I think the Warriors are the first team out, but I think that's the way it is right now at the time of this recording. So
Yeah, it'll be a uphill battle for them, but I think it's possible if they have a big second half of their season.
yeah, I think they have the team, and I'm not sure Stan Van Gundy is the right coach for them. But it seems like I don't know. It seems like Zion this year making his first All Star appearance. It seems like they've gotten better this year. I just think they're still a few years away. What's your opinion on New Orleans this season?
Uh, Probably the same. They're very talented, but they're just a young team. So, um, with some veteran pickups or just a little bit more time, I think they'll be a lot better of a team. As of now, you can see all the potential, you can see the talent that they have, but that veteran having the veteran players just allows you to close late game situations. Being able to make the right decisions at the right time. Sometimes they slack on some of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Pelicans, yeah, they're still, I think, a few years away. But I think once Zion and Brandon Ingram get older, and if Lonzo is still there, I think that team can, I think the team can compete for championships. I don't know how win because the West is so stacked, but I think in a few years we could see the Pelicans, going for that championship. But we'll see what ends up happening. Again, there's a lot of left. There's a lot to go, and even this season they could make a run, but I don't think they can. But we'll see what happens. Right now, who would be your finals matchup if the season ended or not? let me rephrase that. Who do you think is going to play in the championship this season?
Definitely Nets from the East. And it's I'm not a huge LeBron fan, but it's really hard to root against him. But then again, is AD still hurt though, isn't he? Is he out for
Yeah,
the season?
I think he'll be back though before the postseason starts. I think.
Okay, so yeah, if AD is back before postseason, then I have the Lakers Nets finals. Depending on the AD situation, if he's for some reason if the injury lingers or if he doesn't come back full strength, um, then I might have to. I'm not sure who I would take in their place. I've actually been really confident in I haven't checked their record recently, but they're always late game, late playoff team, Trailblazers. I'm not sure what their record has been lately, but they're always excited to watch in the playoffs. So
Yeah, when Dame Lillard gets hot, that's when the Blazers are really good. I still think that Portland needs to give Lillard more help, but I think the Blazers can make a run. I don't think they can come out of the West as the champions, but I do definitely think they can make a run, especially if Dame Lillard gets hot. All right, before I let you go, is there anything else you want to talk about your app or something that you're recently doing or something like that?
um, yeah. So one thing I want to mention about the app is the soundtrack. So we have a really we put a lot of time into the soundtrack of our app. There's about 33 songs, and a lot of them are from up and coming artists. And then we do have some artists as big as Rick Ross, Tank is on it, Wife and Lucci. And then the rest of them are up and coming artists like Quam, Sade Amoni, and some other artists like that. But our soundtrack is actually open. So if any artists are watching and they want to submit music, they can, and we choose obviously not everybody gets in. We choose the best tracks, but it's definitely open for submission. Other than that, just I hope everybody that plays basketball or has any interest in basketball checks it out, gives it a quick download, and yeah, that's pretty much it from me.
All right. Thanks for joining us. And once again, guys, don't forget to follow Ron at Ron Jones32 on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Again, thanks for coming on, Ron, and hope we can do this next time.
Awesome, sounds like a plan. Thank you again.
Alrighty, another edition of the Sportstown Podcast, season number 2, episode number 38. I'm once again joined by my co-host, Michael Menser, who is also the host of the YouTube gaming channel, Mr. M. How's it going, Mike?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I am doing well. So the big news, of course, was Dak Prescott getting paid. Now, I know when this is released, it will be probably on Saturday or Sunday. But when we were recording this, it was actually on Wednesday. So it was just like a day or two before. But anyways, before we start with that, though, we like to mention that it's been now close to a year, not close to, it's been a year since we've been doing the podcast. Of course, originally was 7-Eleven Sports, but now it is Sportstown. But, it's been crazy how we've been able to do this, especially during the pandemic. And it's crazy how our first, basically right when we started releasing the episodes, that's when everything was shut down. So it's crazy how that works. Michael, can you believe it's been already a year?
No, I can't. I mean, this is around the same time I started uploading too, and I just want to give you props for being able to do it consistently. I know it hasn't been easy this past year, but I'm proud of you for being able to keep it up, and yeah, keep it up.
Oh, okay. Thanks for that. For all the listeners too that want to listen, if it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, other ones like Google Podcasts and stuff like that. Again, thanks for, listening. If it wasn't for you guys, we probably wouldn't be doing it. So again, it's been a crazy year. We've been able to get through it. And of course, we look to having a great 2021 year. Michael, so the big news was Dak Prescott getting paid. What was your first thoughts on Dak Prescott signing that massive payday with Dallas?
I thought it was a little bit much. Like, I thought that he would probably, if he did get re-signed, it would have been a decent sized contract, but I didn't really expect it to be, as much as it was. So,
Well, I originally thought it was going to be I thought he was going to get franchise tagged or traded. I didn't think he was actually going to get the paid by the Cowboys because it seems like every single year he would get either franchise tagged or he'd have to wait. And it was reported that at one time he wanted 40 or 45 for 4 years. Jerry Jones and the Cowboys wanted 5 years, and eventually Jerry Jones gave in. It's just, I don't know. I don't think Dak Prescott is worth that much, but I guess props to Dak for being able to get the contract he wanted. So it looks like Russell Wilson is not headed to Dallas. I'm shocked. I don't think he's worth that much, but we'll see what happens. The Cowboys have a lot to do in the offseason. Their offensive line, they need to work on there. They need to find a defense. That defense was just terrible last year. Michael, what do you think the Cowboys need to do in the offseason now that they've signed Prescott to a massive payday?
I think the biggest thing is that they need to get better on defense, and I think they could also use some better offensive linemen just because their offensive line has not been the same since they have been Dak's rookie year. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries, retirements, and so I think that should be a concern. And then maybe getting one more tight end or receiver to go opposite Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup.
Yeah, and they haven't really had a good tight end since Jason Witten was in his prime back in the early 2010s. So yeah, they need to figure out what they needed at the tight end position. There's Zach Ertz might be a free agent. Of course, if he gets traded, which it seems like he might get traded, but it seems like he's going to be a free agent. I mean, if I was the Cowboys, I would look into that. Gronk's going to be a free agent. Hunter Henry's going to be a free agent. So there's a plethora of good tight ends that will be available when offseason begins, which is actually next week, which is crazy. That's of course going to be the time where it's just going to be hectic and basically all hell is going to break loose. So as we mentioned, Dak Prescott gets paid. The Cowboys what they need in the offseason. Do you think Mike McCarthy is good enough to take the Cowboys to the next level, Mike?
I think he could potentially give them a playoff run and maybe even a Super Bowl. I mean, he was able to do it with Rodgers, so I don't see why he can't do it with Dak.
Well, he found the blueprint last year. I mean, he started smashing watermelons, and they went 2-0 or 3-0 when he did it. So if he needs this, maybe he needs to just smash watermelons all every 16, 17 games they play this year. Because if they smash watermelons, they're probably going to go undefeated. But I definitely think Mike McCarthy's good enough to lead them to a Super Bowl. I mean, back in 2011, he helped the Packers go to the Super Bowl, and Aaron Rodgers was not the same quarterback as he is today. So I don't think Mike McCarthy gets enough credit for that. But it's still a little skeptical. But I do believe Mike McCarthy can take the Cowboys to that next level. And of course, they're in not a very good division. So even if they win 8 games, they're most likely winning that division. But the Cowboys need to win 10 or at least 11 games this season now that they've paid Prescott. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Cowboys moving forward. But they just need to win that division first. And I think they need to at least win 11 games. They have I'm trying to remember what pick. I think they have the 12th pick this year? Or no, they have what draft pick they have this year, Michael? Is it the 10th?
Not off the top of my head. I could check that really quick.
I think it is the 10th overall pick. And if it is, it seems like they would either draft an offensive lineman or a pass rusher. And there's going to be a plethora of those available. But
they do have the 10th.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think they could either go the direction of Penny Sewell, the offensive tackle out of Oregon. They could just go ahead and take the pass rusher, Micah Pearson from Penn State. Maybe they could go with Kwity Paye from Michigan. Maybe they go the secondary route and take Patrick Surtain if he's still available. I don't think he's going to be available that late, but a lot can happen. What do you think the Cowboys will do with the 10th overall pick, Mike?
I think they'll probably get that offensive lineman. I think Penny, whatever his name,
Penny Sewell.
Yeah, I think that's what they'll end up getting.
I would agree with you there because it seems like there's so many good receivers that we could see at least 3 or 4 in the top 10. Jamari Chase, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, and maybe Terrence Marshall slips into the top 10. But yeah, the Cowboys will definitely have their choice because they don't really need any receivers. I mean, they drafted CeeDee Lamb last year. The jury's still out on him. They still have Amari Cooper. He's getting paid way too much, but anything can happen this year. Maybe he'll have 1,400 yards this year, which would be unbelievable. So the Cowboys, in my opinion, they should either draft Penny Sewell or maybe a pass rusher like a Kwity Paye, or if a corner like Patrick Surtain is still available, I would go that route. Is Dak Prescott an elite quarterback, Mike?
I would say he's an above average. I wouldn't I wouldn't quite put him in like, top five, maybe top 10, but yeah, I just think he's got like, there's so many good quarterbacks out there. I just think it's hard to put him above.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think Dak Prescott is a top 10 quarterback. I don't think he is. I think he's anywhere between 11 and 14. And that's not
Yeah.
a knock on him. It's just, I haven't seen quite enough from Dak Prescott for me to really think that he's in top 10 quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback, but he's not a great quarterback. And there's a huge difference between good and great. And what we've seen from Prescott, 2 years ago, he had a chance to lead the Cowboys to the playoffs, but they couldn't beat an Eagles team that was half their lineup was injured and they still lost to him. So that kind of concerns me. Last year before he got hurt, he was tearing it up, but the problem was the team wasn't that successful. They were like 2-2 or something like that, or 2-3. So I'm still not convinced on Dak Prescott being an elite quarterback. I don't think he's worth the money he's getting, but I think that he deserves some money. I just don't think he's worth the money he's getting currently. I heard this question a lot when he got signed. Was it a great day for the Cowboys when they signed Prescott to that mega deal, Michael?
I think for Cowboys fans, yes, just because it relieved a lot of the anxiety of like what's going to happen with him. But I mean, like I said, I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback. So like, I don't really think that it's like it's not like they signed like Patrick Mahomes or anything.
I think it was a great day for Dak. I don't think it was a great day for the Cowboys because they finally had to give in and overpay for Dak Prescott. And now they got to see what they can do in the offseason because it seems like they don't have a lot of money left to where they can sign players in it and boost that team up to maybe finally winning that division, finally making a run the playoffs. So I think it was a great day for Dak. It just wasn't a very good day for the Cowboys. Let's now head on. Or actually, before we end this conversation about Dak, what do you have? What's your predictions for the Cowboys next season, Michael?
I think depends on what they do in free agency in the draft, but I think they probably have a good shot at winning the division right now. If they can get better on defense, I think that's the biggest thing. If they can get better on defense, I think they have the best roster on the team, and I think they probably will win the division.
I could see them winning 10 games this year and winning the division. It's just a thing of, can that defense stop anybody? Can the offense produce consistently? Because I think if that defense isn't going to be great, that offense needs to score a lot of points. And Prescott needs to throw at least 30 or 40 touchdowns this season. So I'm going to say they do end up winning the division at 10-6, but they don't get very far in the playoffs and lose in the opening round. All right, let's go to the NFL free agency preview. It is next week, or this Wednesday, actually, on March 17th. It's crazy how it's already about to start. All hell is going to break loose. What's your what team should we be keeping an eye on this upcoming Wednesday, Michael, to sign the top free agent?
I mean, I think the Bengals might have a good shot at it, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Who do you think the Bengals are going to pick up this free agency?
What I think they're going to do is I think they're going to get rid of AJ Green, and then they're going to pick up like Allen Robinson or Kenny Golladay.
Well, actually, that does bring me to my next point. Kenny Golladay is actually a free agent, but Allen Robinson is not. He was franchise tagged by the Bears, so he's going to be at least with Chicago for this season, unless the Bears were to trade him, which I don't think they're going to do. So, I mean, the Bengals do have a good shot at signing Kenny Golladay, but Allen Robinson and Chris Godwin were franchise tagged. So that the Buccaneers, unless they trade it, or not if the Bengals, the only way they could obtain those players if they traded for them. So they'll have to wait at least next year if they want to sign him in free agency. Let's start off with, Kenny Golladay, of course, is a free agent. You said the Bengals. Is there any other teams that you could see him going to?
I can see him going to quite a bit of different teams. I think I can maybe possibly see the Cowboys going for him just to get another receiver opposite Amari Cooper. I could see him maybe going to the Packers just to like give Devontae Adams some help. Yeah.
Well, that would be interesting if Kenny Galladay decided to go to the Packers and stay in that division. I think the Lions would be kicking themselves every time they played. But the problem with the Packers is, do they have the money? And they don't even have enough money to pick to bring back Aaron Jones. So that would be kind of my concern. Kenny Galladay, he's a great receiver, or he's a good receiver. He's not great just yet because he's only been in the league for a few years and he's had a lot of injury seasons. But when he's fully healthy, he's a force to be reckoned with. The teams I could see him signing with is, of course, I could see the Bengals maybe making a run at it. If the Packers were to find cap room, I could definitely see them looking into him. Right now, I could see the Ravens. They need a receiver. They need a receiver desperately, and I think if they were to pick up Kenny Galladay, that would help Lamar Jackson out a ton. I could see them going to the Dolphins. If Tua is the quarterback there, they would need a receiver because all they really have over there is Devontae Parker. And you add Kenny Galladay, that team is all of a sudden, that team is pretty good. And Tua finally has some weapons to throw to. The Patriots, maybe, I mean, they have 67 million in cap this year. That's one of the most. So they don't usually pick up top free agents, but maybe Belichick changes his mind just so they can get back to winning football games. Another team under the radar, the Rams. If they were to find the room, they could bring back Kenny Galladay and Matt Stafford together. And then, of course, you already have guys like Cooper Kupp, and you already have Robert Woods. I mean, that team would be stacked. So I could see the Ravens, Dolphins, Patriots, maybe the Steelers pick them up if they can find the money, or the Rams. Let's go on to another big free agent. That would be there's Shaq Barrett, who is not going to be franchise tagged by the Buccaneers, which is a little shocking. Who do you see him going to, Mike?
Uh, I could see him going to. I think the Jets would be an interesting one. I think they could use another pass rusher. Dolphins, I think, is another good one too. Another under team, I think, could possibly the Rams too. I think the Rams still need a little bit of help on the uh edge rusher area, and I think he could provide some help. So yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm shocked that the Buccaneers didn't franchise tag Shaq Barrett and decided to tag Chris Godwin. You know, no disrespect to Godwin, but he's definitely not Shaq Barrett. And Shaq Barrett was a huge help, or was one of the big reasons why the Buccaneers dominated the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But I could see him going to a plethora of teams as well. The Ravens need a pass rusher. The Dolphins, now that they don't have Kyle Van Noy, or they're going to trade him or something. I can't really see him going to the Rams just because I feel like they're pretty stacked on that defensive line. But, you know, why not? The more the merrier if they can find the money. The Giants is another team that I could see him going to. The Jets, in their old regime, they like to bring in the top free agents, and maybe they would pay him a lot. I think Joe Douglas, though, isn't really that type of guy. He likes to build within and, you know, draft players instead of signing the big free agents. If the Eagles can find the cap space, I could see them. But right now, I really think Shaq Barrett is going to go to a team with the most money. I don't think the Buccaneers are going to be able to do that because they have so many, you know, stars right now, and they still have to figure out if they want to bring back Antonio Brown and Gronk. So I could see him going to the Panthers if they're not able to make the move for Deshaun Watson. So I would either say the Panthers or the Giants. I know it's two really shocking teams, but I could see them going there and getting a massive payday. Let's go into another free agent, or not. He's not a free agent, but it's reported that the Cleveland Browns are looking to trade Odell Beckham Jr. Tom Brady wants him. I don't think that's going to happen. Could you see Odell Beckham in Tampa this season, Mike?
Possibly, but I don't think it's really going to happen. But I think they'd have to give up a lot to get him, I think.
Yeah, I don't really know how they would be able to do that because they're bringing back Chris Godwin unless they trade him, which I don't think they're going to do. They are going to have to bring back Antonio Brown. I mean, I just don't know how that's going to work because you have to. I mean, there's a salary cap and it's actually less than it was in the previous year, so I can't see Odell Beckham going. I could definitely see I think Odell Beckham's time in Cleveland is over, but I could see him going. I mean, the Packers would make the most sense, but I don't think they're going to make that move because they would have to give up a lot. And again, the Packers aren't known to trade first-round picks for a player. I I don't think he's going to be. He can't be traded within the division. It's going to be interesting to see where Odell Beckham lands. I mean, New England makes a lot of sense. They have the cap room. They have the assets to trade for him. They have a plethora of draft picks. I could see him in New England next year. Another team that kind of would be under the radar would be maybe the Chargers. They have Keenan Allen, but Mike Williams has been not great. And if you pair Odell Beckham and Keenan Allen with a young quarterback like Justin Herbert, who had an excellent year last year, that would definitely make for a good team. So I'm gonna either say the Patriots or the Chargers. Is there other free agents that you can think of right now, Michael, that will be with a new team when the offseason or when free agency begins?
Not off the top of my head, no.
I actually just thought of one player that could be a pretty big free agent, Matt Judon and Yannick Ngakoue of the Ravens. They were both not franchise tagged, so they're going to be free agents. It seems like every year Matt Judon would get franchise tagged, but now he's pretty much free to sign with any team. I think he wants to return to Baltimore, but do the Ravens have that money? I think they're probably going to bring him back. If they don't, what team do you think Judon could be playing for next year, Michael?
Well, like you said, I would expect him to return. Uh, if he doesn't return, I think the Dolphins could be a good uh fit for that. Uh, I think potentially the Raiders could be another good fit too, because they do kind of need some help along the edge too. So
Well, the Raiders need a lot of help, and actually that brings me up to my next point. Trent Brown, they traded back to New England after acquiring him last year. It seems like the Raiders just like to wheel and deal. Did you see that trade yesterday, Michael?
I think I saw it, yeah.
Yeah, that really shocked me because I thought Trent Brown I thought he liked his time in Vegas, and I thought the Raiders were confident with their tackle, but obviously that's not the case. And he even tweeted afterwards he was glad to be traded, and he said he wasn't having fun in Vegas, which is really shocking. So he's back in New England. That definitely helps out the Patriots a ton. Their offense, they're going to get back David Andrews as well, so that just helps them, more. I was thinking there was another free agent recently that I could see being with a new team. Now I can't remember, but what do you think the Raiders will do this offseason now that it looks like Derek Carr is no longer going to be with them, Michael?
I think the first thing is they're going to try and get a quarterback in the draft, and then just build around him with all the good receivers that are in this draft.
Do you think they should draft a quarterback or trade for maybe Deshaun Watson if he's available?
I think their first move should be to trade, just because again they get they do that they get Deshaun Watson, and then yeah, they might give up like a couple of first round picks, but this class is so stacked with receivers that they can get some in the later rounds to help uh build around Deshaun Watson. So
Well, they would have to give up a lot. I mean, they would have to at least give up 3 first-round picks, probably like 3 second-round picks in Derek Carr. And I don't know if the Texans are solely interested in Derek Carr if they're trading him. And there's reports that the Texans haven't even answered the calls because there's been a multiple teams that have looked into Deshaun Watson and have tried to contact the Texans, but according to sources, the Texans are not answering their calls. So it seems like Deshaun Watson is going to be with the Texans next year. And if he doesn't report to training camp and all that, he's going to get fined. So it looks like the Texans have all the leverage, which is really shocking. But I think at some point, Deshaun Watson is going to have to trade. And I would love to see him with the Raiders. I think John Gruden, that Raiders team, would instantly become a Super Bowl contender. They need to bring back Nelson Aguilar, though, and they need to figure out what they need to do on the defensive side because they could not stop anybody last year. But again, time will tell. We'll see what happens. They've got to do well in the draft, and seems like they've struggled the last few years. Do you see Jimmy Garoppolo going back to New England? Because there's been reports that Garoppolo could be out of San Francisco. Michael, what's your opinion on that?
I think he'll be out of San Francisco, but I don't necessarily think he'll go back to New England. Just because I think they still got Cam Newton, and yeah, I just don't think that will happen.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't think Cam Newton's returning because I think he's a free agent. I don't think the Patriots are going to bring him back. I could definitely see the Patriots bringing back Jimmy G or maybe Teddy Bridgewater making a trade with the Panthers. I mean, maybe you acquire Derek Carr. Matt Ryan could be available. It seems like right now he's not, but maybe the Falcons, decide to change their mind. I mean, there's just so many things that can happen this offseason. It's going to be a wild, that's for sure. But anyways, I know it's early, but do you have a Super Bowl prediction yet, Michael?
No, not really. I'd have to uh wait for more teams to kind of see what they do before I go out and make it. But if I had to pick, I guess right now, I guess I would say the Rams would look like they're going to be a pretty good team. I think the Chiefs and the Ravens are obviously going to be good. So yeah, I think it'd be one of those three teams.
Yeah, I'm still going to stick with the Rams and Ravens, even though a lot of people like to say the Buccaneers just because they have Tom Brady. But at some point, I think there's going to be someone overtaking Brady. Before we head to championship weekend or championship week in college basketball, who do you think the best free agent right now is, Michael?
Right now, I would probably say Kenny Golladay. I think uh he's still I think he's a little bit underrated just because he's had like a lot of injuries and stuff. And yeah, but I think he is a little bit underrated, but I do think he's really good.
I think Kenny Golladay is a great receiver. When he's healthy, I think he's a top. Well, I think when he's healthy, he is a top 10 receiver. I would definitely agree with right now. I think he's the best free agent because it seems because Dak before the season, before Prescott signed that massive deal in Dallas, he was the best free agent. But I think right now, I would probably put Kenny Golladay over AJ Green as the best player in free agency. Shaq Barrett is a free agent. That's going to be crazy. But yes, I would agree with you on Kenny Golladay being the best free agent. All right, championship weekend in NCAA or in college basketball. Is there anything that really sticks out to you this week for championship week, Michael?
Uh, Not really. I guess just seeing who wins the Big 12, I think that'll be big. The Big 10, I think that's going to be big.
Do you have a prediction on who takes the Big Ten championship this season for this tournament?
The Big 10 championship, I personally don't know. It could be several teams, but I think Michigan right now has the best shot, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, Michigan did win the season, and I don't think I don't know. I'm not sold on Michigan yet. I don't know. I feel like there is someone better than them in that conference. I really like Illinois. To be honest with you, I've watched the last few games from the Fighting Illini, and I don't know. I like them to win the tournament. I know it's crazy, and a lot of people will say, why do you have Illinois winning? I got a feeling, man. I've never really seen Illinois be this good. So I don't know. I have some type of belief in Illinois to win that conference. I mean, there's other teams like Iowa and Ohio State, and of course Michigan, but I just got in Ohio State. But right now, I'm going to say Illinois wins that Big Ten championship, and I think if they were to win, they would get one of the number one seeds in the tournament. Yesterday, or actually it was on Tuesday night, Gonzaga had a little bit scare with BYU. Do you think Gonzaga, if they would have lost to BYU, Michael, they wouldn't have got the number one seed?
I don't think so, just because they've dominated everyone else in the season, but I do think it would have probably hurt them a little bit.
Well, I mean, I saw that game, and it pretty much in the first half, BYU dominated, and all of a sudden the second half, Gonzaga comes out of nowhere and just dominates. And, I wasn't super impressed by Jalen Suggs, but he did grab 23 points on the game. Corey Kispert, his teammate, was really impressive, and he had some big shots there to tie the game. And then, of course, Jalen Suggs took off with about 8 minutes remaining left in the game. But, yeah, Gonzaga, I think if they would have lost to BYU, they still would have been a number one seed, but they wouldn't have been the top overall seed because it's kind of a bad look to lose to BYU, who they're a good team, but they're definitely not a top-tier team. And Gonzaga, if they're supposed to be the best team in college basketball, which I think they are, that would have really hurt the Bulldogs. ACC tournament right now, it seems like Virginia or Florida State are the favorites to win it. Who do you like winning that tournament, Michael?
I think Virginia is going to win it just because Virginia has been pretty decent the past few years.
Yeah, I probably would agree with you on that one. Florida State is pretty solid this year, but man, the ACC is it's just not what it was the last few years, and that's really shocking because almost every year you can say the ACC is the best. With North Carolina and Duke struggling, it just seems like, it's kind of weird to have those teams not survive. But I'm going to agree with you. I think Virginia does win the ACC this year. I mean, they're still technically defending champions, but yeah, I would agree with you on that one. Big 12, who do you like, Kansas or Baylor?
I think Baylor is going to win it personally, but uh, I think Kansas does have a good shot. I think it's going to be a pretty close game.
Do you think if Kansas and Baylor both make it to the Big 12 championship game, they both get number 1 seeds regardless of who wins and loses that matchup?
I could see it. I think it's either going to be 2 Big 12 or 2 Big 10 teams, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, and of course, well, you can't forget about Gonzaga because I think they're
Well,
going to
yeah,
get the number 1
Gonzaga.
overall seed.
I think it's going to be Gonzaga, whoever wins the Big 12, whoever wins the Big 10, and then either one of the losers of the Big 10 or the Big 12. So, like, if Baylor wins either Kansas or, Illinois possibly, or State or Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you there too. Do you think that, do you think Virginia maybe gets a number 1 overall seed somehow?
I think they'll probably win somewhere in the 2 seed, even if they win the ACC championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think on almost every single year, there's at least one ACC team getting number 1 seed, so that's a little odd for that not to happen. Right now, it seems like Luka Garza has the College Player of the Year locked up. But do you think Jalen Suggs, if he were to have a successful run the tournament, do you think he threatens Garza a little bit?
He might, just barely, but I think Garza's going to run away with it still.
Yeah, he's been very impressive, and I think we mentioned this last week. I pretty much just asked you the same question, but I mean, Garza I think he's a beast, first of all, and he's just unstoppable, it seems like. And, imagine if you played, I'm not saying Iowa. I mean, I was really good this year, but I don't think I was going to win it. And imagine if you played with a really, really good team, a team like Gonzaga. I mean, that team would be dominating. That Garza would clearly be College Player of the Year, and I think Gonzaga would win the championship if they were to have a guy like Luka Garza. But I'm not saying I was a bad team. I just think that, imagine if Garza was with just a little bit better of a team. But we'll see what happens. I think Garza is going to easily run away with it, but we still got a lot left to go. But I think it's pretty much been solidified. Right now, I think recently you said you have Gonzaga in your championship game, right?
Yeah.
Have you changed your opinion on that, or?
No, I think it's still going to be Gonzaga, and then I think it's either going to be Gonzaga or Michigan or Gonzaga and Baylor.
I think it's going to be Gonzaga and Baylor just because of how good Baylor's been this year. And I think Michigan, I think they go to the Final Four, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be Gonzaga and Baylor. And then Gonzaga probably wins by 8 or 9 points, even though that's really hard to think because almost every year Gonzaga seems like they do really good and then they struggle going to the tournament, except for in 2017 when they went to the championship game and got beat by UNC. All right, before we end the conversation, do you have anything else you want to say, Mike?
No, I don't think so.
All righty. Once again, guys, thanks for tuning in. And again, Michael, thanks for coming on. Thanks for listening to the Sports Town Podcast, or the STP Pod for short. If you want to check out more videos of the Sports Town Podcast, click on the left. If you want to subscribe to the channel, click on the right.